Hello, everybody, and welcome to another pricing Q&A. This time we'll dive right in because we have some big questions in front of us. The first one of them is there a big difference between B2B and B2C pricing? Okay, some definitions first. B2B means the wholesale kind of selling, where people are buying so that they can use it for business purposes, from reselling to restructuring the way they work. So your business is basically selling to a business so they can business while they business. That's B2B. B2C, or business to customer, is the retail, the regular kind of selling, where people are buying so that they can consume. So the question was, is there a big difference in pricing something to companies and direct consumers, basically? And the answer is yes, of course, there's a big difference. Although as long as all clients are human, there are also a lot of similarities. When I mention humans, I don't mean that some of us are selling to dogs or aliens, but that some of the wholesale part of the market, or B2B, is buying through tenders or other kinds of aggressively objective formal processes. And these are completely different territory that hasn't got much to do with human psychology. So it's utterly foreign territory to me. On the other hand, even though you are selling your service to a big company, as long as the actual person you are talking to has an amygdala and hopes and dreams and possibly a nagging spouse affecting their judgment, there are similarities between B2B and B2C when it comes to pricing. In both cases, it's all about the perception of value. But in the B2B case, value tends to be more impersonal and money-based. It doesn't matter if it's additional revenue or less cost or less risk or some image building. While in B2C, it's more about personal experience and emotion. So B2B is more objective, B2C is more subjective, let's say. All adult humans have instincts, fears, urges, and a budget to think about. It doesn't matter if they're a private person or a company. So the practice in pricing is actually similar. Now I got a follow-up to this. Oh yeah, that's a great follow-up question. How do I express value based on emotional experience? So I said B2C is more based on emotional experience. So yeah, how do you price that? Because in B2B, it's fairly straightforward. If you can make them some amount of money, then you can ask for some percentage of that money, and that's fairly clear. Value based on emotional experience is complicated. B2C is based on emotions, and emotions are subjective and intangible. And how the heck do we price that? We are visual beings, right? Try selling a product without a designer or a residential house without employing an architect, and you see how far you go. Or even better, save your money and don't try that because it won't work. Visualization is of prime importance, especially for the B2C market, for the retail market, right? I mean, what do you think luxury handbag brands sell? Carrying capacity? Of course not. They sell many things, but the first one is how the owner looks and feels while carrying it. It takes a lot of deep understanding of the visual world to impart value through product design alone, yet it's done every day by some talented people. If proper design is above your means, numbers can help a lot too. This is mostly a B2B technique, but it's useful when describing value, which is based on emotion as well. So think about what numbers change as a result of using your service. If people use your service, are they going to lose weight, laugh more frequently, have more time with their kids, get more opportunities, have more energy? All of those can be expressed in numbers. If you find a difference like that, if you find a change that you can bring about or change that you can slow down, don't just say you'll have more or you have less. Use some numbers, some percentage, some years, right? You'll feel like it's 1999 or something. But use something concrete like that as a part of your message, and that will help you solidify the idea of value even in consumer-oriented clients. Finally, strong emotions help you solidify value, and evoking strong emotions is a more powerful signal than evoking more subtle ones. Although I feel appealing to strong emotions is overused, cliche in today's world. So everybody does that, and it has to be done perfectly to achieve the desired effect. So I would stick with visualizations if you can afford them, and numbers if you can. Use numbers anyway, even if you have great visualizations. It's a good way to solidify your value based on emotion. I have a direct competitor close by, and he started to lower prices. How do I win a pricing war? Oh, goody. Well, let me just preface this by saying it's a really bad situation to be in. And tactics in a price war are very simple and at the same time brutally hard to use for most people, for most businesses, especially smaller ones. Because to win in a price war, you simply start with a bigger pile of cash, the bigger war chest, which you can burn by keeping the price below profitability and keep it low enough until the competitors have to respond and they burn their cash first and you remain standing either alone or with some other competitors that had enough cash to do that. That's the long and short of it. A pricing war is like a contest of holding your breath the longest, right? The person who has the biggest lungs is mostly going to win. That's it. It's inherently not a fair fight, and that's by design. And usually a price war is only initiated by a much bigger player when they know they're going to win. They have economies of scale, they have good cost-cutting practices, or they have enough collateral to get cheap loans if they burn through their money before they hoped. And that's not something that the small business can compete with. The goal of a price war is to make you and the other smaller players have to choose between having too few customers or a price that does not even cover the cost. And if you are new, if you are innovative or simply a smaller player, the only way to avoid losing is to stop playing. You can't win, but you can leave the game. You can pivot, you can specialize, you can find a sub niche too small or simply too unprofitable for the big guy with his big costs, and you can squeeze through. That's basically the best thing you can do. Find the sub niche and go there, and they can't follow you there, and they don't care because that's not profitable for them anyway. The fight for the general market, the mass market in a price war, is lost before it officially begins if you're much smaller than your opponent. There's nothing you can really do. But in pivoting, you may find an even better, smaller, but more approachable market that will have specific reasons to pay you more. Even if the competitor you mentioned isn't that much bigger than you, they may know something you don't, or they got an inheritance and decided to burn it, getting you out of the picture. So if they're not much bigger, I find it very suspicious behavior for a normal competitor because it's really costly to start the price war. And I would immediately suspect something is up. Either they found a loophole or they're desperate because of some reason, or it can be many things, but something is up. So maybe there's some regulation you can rely on to shield you from, dumping prices, unfair competition, but I wouldn't really count on it. Those things are mostly made to shield the bigger players. Your best bet is to play a different game. They will spend a lot of resources trying to provoke you into lowering your prices, and they will end up weaker for it. And if that's any consolation, the price war hurts everybody. But straight up winning, I wish I had a good trick up my sleeve to share, but no, just don't play. I bluffed my way into a much higher price than I expected to get. And now the client wants a big discount. The end sum is still very profitable. That's good. But I don't want to seem to concede too easily. So yeah, okay. You're afraid that he might suspect that it was a bluff. Right. Okay. First, well done. Bluffing is not the ideal way of going about it, raising your price, but it's better than bowing down immediately, and it's a good start. In your case, I would immediately say yes to the discount, since I know your case and I know that this money, even reduced, would mean a lot to you right now. However, I would say yes in a way that's clear that they didn't get the discount for nothing, so that you didn't do it out of fear. You totally did, but let's not tell them that. So set some conditions, right? Like, okay, you'll do the work, but some small part of work, the most inane one, they have to do by themselves. Plus, let's say 50% that they have to pay up front, plus a limit on their subsequent change orders. So they can say, yeah, but could you make this more red and make this lower? But they only get like a few changes to what you have done. I'm talking about design here, or web design or whatever, but it can also work in copywriting, and it's suggestions to many other things. So they don't get to mess around with it a lot, is my point. So they get a couple of freebies, and then everything then on is some specified extra cost that they have to pay. And finally, the last condition is your right to display their case as a case study on your website, right? If condition that they're happy with the work that you did, you know they're going to be happy with the work that you did. And if all of these first three conditions are preconditions, and this is a post-conditional, let's say, I don't know if that's a word, but a condition that is only due if they're happy with what you have done for them. So you set all of these conditions to immediately saying yes to the large discount, and don't give them too much to think about it, right? You said yes, the discount is here. Here are the conditions. You have like 3 days to respond to this. After that, the offer is no longer valid. So a few days at most. Do this, and the client will be suitably impressed by your confidence despite the discount, right? And will feel that you are actually doing them a favor instead of saying the discount because you're afraid of them walking away. Use that and let me know how it ended, okay? So I think that's it for today. Thank you, everybody. And do continue to send your questions, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Everything changes.